Welcome back to Inside Ambition. I'm Alexandra George, and I'm here to talk to Chloe Tramontano. She's on the crew team, and she's going to give us a little insight about what her experience has been like now that her season's been canceled. Hi, Chloe. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So, I know you're on the crew team, and that sport is something that happens during the spring. So, obviously, due to COVID, there's no sports. So, could you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been like now that your season's been canceled?
Yeah, it's been very stressful in the beginning. There was a lot of hope that it would come back because, we all thought we'd only be shut down for a couple weeks. So it was a lot of like, okay, stay, train, maybe on your own. Hopefully we'll be back and we can race. And then within a day of hearing that, we were told it was completely canceled.
Oh,
So it just, went from a couple weeks to 6 months of nothing. And we're also a fall sport, so we're also patiently waiting to hear if we'll be able to race in the fall because that might be canceled as well.
mm-hmm.
So it's very tough because also NCAA doesn't allow us to pretty much practice together right now. So we can have some contact with we can talk to each other and our coaches, but we're not really allowed to have any organized practices. So it's all on our own. It's very difficult to stay motivated for 6 months on your own.
Yeah, for sure. So how has that been working? What kind of workouts have you been doing? Like, how is the team staying in shape?
So it's very difficult because not everyone has access to the ergs, which are rowing machines that we use. For instance, like the DAC is shut down, so a lot of people on campus can't use one. We're not allowed to take them home or anything. So it's just a lot of at home running is pretty good. If we can lift weights, do that. A lot of body circuits. It's very tough because we just don't have access to anything that we need. Obviously can't get in a boat right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't, just do it on our own. So it's very hard for me personally. I've been trying to just do a lot of running and body circuits that I can. I don't have anything in my apartment, so I'm not really fortunate enough to be able to do that.
And it's also like you're not exactly sure when you're training for. If you're not back in the fall, right?
Yeah, each season is different. So what we were training for in the winter was for sprints, and in the fall it's more endurance. So trying to decide what we're training for is also a little tough right now. Like, do I want to stay in this shape or do I want to work for what the fall is going to bring? It's hard.
Yeah, that sounds really challenging. Could you elaborate a little bit about what the team's expectations for this season looked like and how that's changed?
I don't think our expectations are changing except for the fact that it's going to be a year later. We were going into the season very confident and ready. We had worked really, really hard all year since the last conference race, which was last May. So we came in second at that one and just barely. So we were ready to, win it this year and hopefully get to the NCAA championships. And our whole team was doing fantastic. All season we've just been working really, really hard. So our expectations aren't changing as far as what we'll be able to do. It's just now the time is different.
Yeah, you just gotta wait.
So some of us are trying to look at it as an extra year of practice to get even better instead of postponing it. It's just all right, now we're going to be even further than we expected to be next time we get to race.
That's really great perspective. Could you also elaborate a little bit about how this is operating with NCAA eligibility? Because you get 4 years of eligibility, right? So
right.
How does COVID factor into all of that?
So the way it normally works is you get 4 years per sport. So for instance, if you go to an undergrad school and play basketball for 4 years, if you go to grad school, you can do another sport, just not basketball.
Got it.
With COVID, NCAA awarded all of us an extra year.
Okay.
So, because you already have a redshirt year. So, for me, I was going to redshirt regardless because, I had missed the fall for concussion. So, I already qualified for redshirting because I didn't have a season. And so, I was like, all right, great. And being a 5-year Drexel student, I'm fortunate enough that I have, an extra year for that new one.
Yeah.
And so, everyone has been awarded a new year. So, I know it's hard for other schools maybe because if they're seniors, what good does it do them to get an extra year?
Yeah.
Unless they go to grad school and they row there, which a lot of people don't plan on, and it, happened a little late for that to be planned. So Drexel students were definitely fortunate that most of us are 5-year, and hopefully we'll all be continuing for that 5th year.
Do you know if there's any seniors on the team that this was supposed to be their last season and they're not going to be able to come back?
There are some people that were 4-year. and they're trying to see what they can do. There's nothing really set in stone right now. We're all trying to figure it out together because it obviously gets very complicated we're still bringing in a freshman class. So now we have more people than planned if people come back that we're supposed to leave. So yeah, some seniors were legitimate seniors for a year and they were done. So we're trying to see what's the plan for that, and hopefully we can get as many people back as we can.
Yeah, that would be great. And then just lastly, could you talk about your own personal experience, like losing this season? It's great that crew is 2 seasons, but it's still a huge bummer that you didn't get to participate. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge bummer. For me, this is only my second year rowing ever. So I started when I came to school. And of those 2 years, there's been 4 seasons, and I've only gotten to participate in 1. So I was really excited because obviously missing the fall for concussion was a huge bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the whole team has been working really hard, but I came back from an injury and trained really hard to get to where I was and was super excited to see where it brought me for this year. But I'm trying to have a more positive outlook now because in the beginning it was really hard, really sad because it literally happened the day before our first race, our cancellation.
No.
So we were supposed to have like a scrimmage and then it got canceled. And so it was a really big bummer for all of us. But for me, what I'm trying to think about, like I said earlier, is now I just have an extra year to get better. So my goals that I had for this spring, I'm still keeping those in place. But now that I have an extra year, it's like I have a whole new 12 months to get to that little goal so I can surpass it.
Mm-hmm.
And that means when I'm a senior in my 5th year rowing, hopefully I'll be even further than I ever expected. So I'm trying to think of it that way, and it'll just put me in a better position going forward and be faster and hopefully be able to just perform well for the school.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for any other athletes watching, whether they're incoming freshmen on the team next year or maybe a high school student who was a senior and lost their final season? What do you think is good advice for any athlete who might be watching right now?
I think just trying to find a way to continue with it if you can, because it's not necessarily going to be a competing level. But if it's something that you care about enough to where if you lose your last season and it's hard, then what can you do to continue with it? I know for crew it's hard because you can't just brace or something very easily. But if you play basketball or tennis or something, maybe how can you continue that with friends or whatever? But also just trying to remain positive if you can. It's not perfect. If you were a senior in college and you lost your last season, obviously there's not a whole lot you can do to benefit from the extra year. But if there's anything you can, then try and participate. I know some students are maybe trying to volunteer with the team or some other teams, try and figure that out. But I think right now the thing is it's all uncontrollable. We can't do anything about it, and just try and stay connected with your teammates. That helps us a lot. Even people who are leaving the team, we still talk to them all the time, and they're included in our meetings and stuff because they're still our teammates.
Yeah.
And we're still going on. We're all going through this, and it's something no one saw coming. And there's no way to prepare for it. So if you're coming in as a freshman and you're worried about the fall getting canceled, don't stress necessarily about that. Worry more about, okay, if it gets canceled, what can I do for the next season? How can you just be ready? Because we don't know what's going to happen. And part of being, a top tier athlete in college is being able to just kind of do what you need to do at the time being. Yeah. And everyone in the country and in the world is experiencing this right now. No one's at an advantage over you. So maybe just keep your training up. It's really hard. You're not going to be in the same shape as you were, but do your best and keep positive, and no one's going to have the upper hand on you. We're all in this together, and you just have to think about what you're doing for your teammates, and it'll be okay.
Thank you so much, Chloe, for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate it, and you're right. We're all in this together, and I wish you all the best with your season whenever it comes.
Thank you.